This is the MOBC, my own boxing community. Hopefully you guys can hear me out there. Let me put this volume up. Hopefully you guys can hear me out there. This is the MOBC, my own boxing community. We had some really good fights last night. Keyshawn Davis defeated Lemos at 135-pound weight limit, but Lemos came in the fight weighing 141 pounds. What's up? What's up, Dean Brolick, a.k.a. the Boxing Jedi, a.k.a. Jedi, a.k.a. the Destroyer of Trolls, a.k.a. also undefeated in every debate that I've seen him in. Any topic, any debate, you name it. I've never seen my bro Jedi lose in any debate versus anybody. That's people he cool with. That's his friends. That's his enemies. Anyone that you name, I never seen my bro Dean Brolick, a.k.a. the Boxing Jedi, lose in any debate. Politics, religion, you name it. That's my bro out there. Salute. And I support his channel 100%. Straight up. Straight up. And if Dean Brolick got trolls and sucker channels out there going at him, the MOBC is right there alongside. And period. That's period. Period, point blank. Dean Brolick is like Superman, and the MOBC is the Martian Manhunter. You feel me? That's how we doing this around these parts of town. Straight up. So, Keyshawn Davis fought a legit 140-pounder in a 135-pound fight, and he stopped him. All right? Straight up. He stopped him. That's something for people to and these boxers and these boxing fans to understand. You don't just pick a fight and it don't go your way and then you cop out, right? And now keep in mind, in my last video, I spoke on this and I said Keyshawn Davis should have canceled the fight. And it wouldn't count against him. He would still have dog in him. But he wanted to show the world that, you know what? I'm going to do what other boxers aren't doing. I'm going to do what boxers like Tank Davis isn't doing. Bringing a guy down. Making a guy drain himself. Cherry picking an opponent. Yeah, I know Lemos fought at 140 pounds in his last fight, and I thought he won that fight, but he also fought at 135. So this is a fighter that fluctuates between 135 and 140 comfortably. Some fighters can't do that. Lemos is a fighter who could do that. He could fight at 135 and 140 comfortably. He chose to come into this fight overweight on purpose for a size advantage, and he still lost. These are the things that a lot of boxers they're not doing. They're not doing the things like Keyshawn Davis is, who is a step above. He's no longer a prospect. He is doing what boxers supposed to do. That's stay active, fight, don't cry about any situation, and you call out the future opponents that you want. That's what Keyshawn Davis displayed last night. And when he called out Tank Davis, and this isn't a diss to Sean Porter. I don't know why I said Sean Porter, because I was just talking about Sean Porter with one of my homeboys. This isn't a diss to Keyshawn Davis, but we all know that he's calling out Tank Davis, and he does want to fight Tank Davis. He does. But he knows he's not going to get the fight with Tank Davis. So he's smart. He's calling out Tank Davis. He's getting his name out there. It's getting the conversation out there. The conversation for him to face what if let's see Keyshawn Tank. Let's see Keyshawn Tank. He's smart. He knows that that's going to sell him, right? And he knows that Tank Davis isn't going to man up and ever face him. That's just the truth. It's the truth. If you're a Tank Davis fan, I'm sorry, but Tank Davis has no plans fighting Keyshawn Davis whatsoever. You understand? So the point of this video I want to talk about, so Abdullah Mason is a prospect, right? Fighting at 135 pounds. And he's been active as a professional, right? He's been active as a professional, constantly fighting, okay? Constantly fighting. When you are a prospect, and even as a pro, this also applies to a professional, okay? When you're a prospect or a professional, in order for you to stay sharp, you have to do two things, okay? You have to train and you have to box. You have to stay active and you have to box. That's it. You can't have a professional fight, take 2 or 3 months off, gain weight, and then have another fight coming up, and that doesn't take another 2 or 3 months. That's 6 months of inactivity. And this is the reason why we have a lot of fighters today only fighting once or twice a year, right? And when you see a fighter fight 2 times, I see boxing fans saying, that's active, that's being active. If fighting 2 times a year is active to you, you don't know anything about boxing whatsoever. You don't know anything about boxing. Activity is when Sugar Ray Robinson lost to Jake LaMotta, trained for 2 weeks, fought another guy on the 3rd week, and then fought Jake LaMotta again in a rematch in another couple of weeks or so. That's activity. Not fighting twice a year. And let me tell you, what a lot of guys always say, you fight bums. Oh, back in the days, they fought a lot because they was fighting bums. They was fighting bums. No, that's not how it works. Okay? You don't fight. You're not constantly fighting bums. You're staying active. All right? When you're constantly staying active, there's risk factors there. One of the risk factors is you could be facing an opponent that might not be popular, that might not be that talented, but have the style to trouble you and possibly beat you. All right? Another problem with staying active that's dangerous, a risk factor at staying active is that fighter that you're fighting on that fight night might be fighting you on the right time. You may not have trained properly. You may have underestimated that opponent. You may have thought this is an easy walk in the park. I'm just going there. I'm going to train for 3 weeks and I'm going to go in there and knock this bum out. And then you get in there and you're in the fight of your life that you could possibly lose. That's another risk factor. Number 3, another risk factor is when you fighting guys and you're staying active, you may not know. And this especially goes in back in the days. See, now it's easier. Now you could go on YouTube. Now you could go and check out opponents and opponents they fought and who they faced and all that. Back in the days, you didn't have that. There was no YouTube. There wasn't much footage. There was no videos to go to. So another risk factor is you could get in there with a guy that you don't know. And let me tell you, he could have a record that's like 3-10 with 2 knockouts, right? But guess what? He might be a knockout artist. Now, he may not knock out guys as professional because he's losing. Maybe he doesn't have the talent. But he could probably be a knockout artist. One of those guys, if you've been in a boxing gym, it's a lot of punchers in the gym that just don't have the talent. And you could go in there and face this guy, underestimate him, and you get clipped. It happens in boxing all the time. And what we saw with Abdullah Mason when he fought last night, he got clipped and he got dropped twice in that fight because he fought a guy that many people don't know, right? People don't know who this guy is, and he happens to be a puncher. Okay? He happens to be a puncher. It's just the facts. So this is what I'm saying. You can't always count people out. When you're active, there is risk factors there. And I say it time and time again. The more active that you are, the more polished that you become, the more better that you become. It's just the facts. It's if you're not boxing enough, right? If you're not boxing enough, how can you get better as a pro? You won't. It's just common sense. How many fighters have we seen with inactivity in this ring rust? Now, I don't want to take anything away from Madrimov. I think Madrimov is an excellent fighter. But you can make a case that because Terrence Crawford fights only once a year now, right? Only fights once a year. He had ring rust. And we're going to have Errol Spence going on almost 2 years. Going to fight this big, tall basketball player who has a pretty good punch, who has pretty good punch placement, and so forth, right? Like, this guy isn't a walk in the park. 2 years inactivity. If Terrence Crawford, two-time undisputed in 2 different weight classes, had ring rust after 1 year, how much ring rust do you think Errol Spence Jr. is going to have coming off a devastating beating and a 2-year layoff? You guys, you got to stay active, right? And I want boxers out there to do and follow along. Abdullah Mason is talented. And he is a prospect that professional fighters should actually watch and emulate what he's doing. He went in there and fought a guy that no one knows that happens to be a puncher, and he put him down twice. And he rose to the occasion. And now he's faced adversity. Now he knows, now this is a stepping stone. This is a learning lesson. Now when if in the future, hypothetically speaking, if he gets the big fight, if he's fighting a world champion or a contender or a challenger or whatever, who happens to be a puncher, who drops him, he's going to know how to deal with the adversity. You understand? When you're fighting constant, because you could fight on the come up, you could fight easy fights and you don't learn anything, or and you're not active enough, or you could stay active and fight, and then you fight different styles. That's how you learn. Andre Ward did it, right? Terrence Crawford did it, right? Devin Haney faced adversity against a cheater. And I know I'm not taking nothing away from Devin Haney, because he fought a cheater. He fought a legit cheater. But there was adversity there. He didn't make the adjustment. He didn't know how to make the adjustments because he never been in a situation like that early in his career. You understand? They don't know, right? So Abdullah Mason fighting and staying active is what boxers need to do. Okay? If you're constantly, listen, Tank Davis is he's a good fighter. He got the skills. But what's going to happen when he faces a legit opponent that's going to give him everything that he has, that has fast hands, that has a good jab, that has good punch placement, that's giving them angles, that knows how to use their height, that knows how to keep Tank Davis thinking, What is Tank Davis going to do? I'm not going to count Pitbull Cruz. Pitbull Cruz is a block away from being a midget. He's the same size as this action figure right here of Muhammad Ali. What's up, Martin Dunstan? Salute my bro. Salute Martin Dunstan. I'm not going to count Pitbull Cruz, who just lost to Rayo. The reason why PBC moved Pitbull Cruz to 140 is because they didn't want him at 135. They didn't want him to possibly have to face Tank Davis again because it's a protection plan. And then he ended up losing to Rayo because they thought that was a walk in the park just because De Los Santos knocked him out. So what if he lost to one guy? Doesn't mean another guy could beat him. They thought that was a walk in the park, and Pitbull Cruz ended up being schooled. Now, how does that make Tank Davis look? A guy who got knocked out, schooled a guy who Tank Davis struggled with. Some people thought Pitbull Cruz beat him. I thought Pitbull Cruz actually did edge that fight. Or it could have been a draw. But Abdullah Mason is fighting every other month. And I believe he plans on fighting every other month. He's going to keep on fighting because his father wants him to stay sharp. His father wants him to stay active. Doesn't matter who he's fighting. That wasn't a cherry pick. You thought that was a cherry pick? The guy with the funky, silly little haircut that he got? You know what? The guy was bald. The guy had a bald head and an afro. How are you a boxer with a bald head and an afro? Nigga, forget boxing talk right now. Now, I don't want to talk about boxing. I want to take a break from boxing for a second. What in the heck was this guy rocking? Who he said bro went to the barbershop and they said, what you want to do with your haircut? He said, I know, I want to do something different. I said, oh yeah, well, what kind of haircut? What kind of haircut do you want? Well, I'm thinking about going bald. Well, that's nothing different about that. Everybody got a bald head. You want me to give you a lineup with a fade? No. I got something better than that. I want you to cut me bald, but leave an afro right under my ears. I mean, forget this. I was rooting for Abdullah Mason out the gate for that funky haircut. Now, let me tell you something. Ain't no way that I'm going to go outside and I'm going to have a bald head facing you, and then when I turn to the left or I turn to the right or I give you my back, I got an afro. That he deserved to lose that fight. People are saying that's fight of the year. No, that is haircut of the year. That guy had the haircut of the year. If they do a Hall of Fame, they need to add funky haircuts in the Hall of Fame, and it'll be Jorge Pazianza. What's that guy named? Jorge Pazianza versus Abdullah Mason's Johan Vasquez. And they would be on the ballot as Hall of Fame boxers with the funkiest haircuts. What a funky haircut, man. And then when he dropped, like you could see the afro kind of moving. But Abdullah Mason is doing exactly what boxers Barbara right, the BHF, Barbers Hall of Fame. What a funky haircut, man. Abdullah Mason is doing what old school boxers do. They're constantly fighting. That means Abdullah Mason, if he's fighting every other month, that means he's training throughout the year. There's no break. See, when you're a professional boxer, you got one job. And especially when you're at a certain level. Because some I'm not talking about professional boxers who got a day job or a night job. I'm talking about boxers who their only occupation is boxing. All right? If you're a boxer Boxing is your occupation. And you have to treat it like your occupation, right? So, like, let's say, for example, if you're a bus driver, right? If you're a bus driver, you're not allowed to drink, you're not allowed to smoke cannabis, okay? They drug test you. You're also not allowed to drink alcohol. Now, what you do on off the job, you could drink. You know, obviously on the job, you can't drink alcohol. But we're just going to talk about the cannabis part, right? So you can't take cannabis when you're a bus driver. They test you. That's your job. They test you. So in other words, the bus driver might not have the luxury outside of work to do these type of recreational activities because of his occupation. Same thing goes with a boxer. You might not have time to party and go to clubs. You might not have time to go to bars, right? Your job is to train and be prepared for the next fight that your promoter has lined up for you or may have lined up for you, so that when a fight presents itself, you're ready to train. You know, I give Floyd Mayweather a lot of criticism about his resume. Well, not really his resume, about his opponents, the times that he faces opponents, the type of opposition, not unifying, not becoming undisputed, cherry picking his opponent. I give Floyd Mayweather all the criticism about his actual boxing fights, but I would never criticize his work ethic. I would never criticize the man's work ethic. Floyd Mayweather's work ethic should be studied by boxers. Because when a boxer goes out to a party, doesn't drink, he's just drinking water, and then 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, right after the party or the club, he goes jogging, that's dedication. And he showed you the blueprint right there on those HBO 24/7. And all of you boxers out there that's watching, the only thing that you can focus on is the amount of money that Floyd Mayweather is making. That's the only thing you guys focus on. When you didn't see the picture that it takes hard work and dedication to get to that point. Now, whether we criticize his opponents, that's another thing. But you cannot deny the man's work ethic. And I can tell you right now, Abdullah Mason is constantly training. Not only that, he's a Muslim. That means he has a good diet. That means he's not drinking alcohol. That means he's not smoking cannabis. He's probably not drinking soda. We know he's not eating pork. He has a good diet. We know that when Ramadan comes, it's time for fasting. It's time to clench your body. Ladies and gentlemen, Abdullah Mason is in tremendous shape, and he's going to get better. And the whole lightweight and possibly 140, when he probably develops into his true weight class, unless he plans on being a career lightweight and then moves up in a higher weight class once he gets too old and can't make the weight, that remains to be seen. But this guy might be the future of the division. And I can tell you, by the way he's active, he won't be cherry picking like the Tank Davises and the Shakur Stevensons. I can tell you right now, this guy's going to try to chase greatness. At least that's what it looks like right now. And a lot of you boxers out there, you guys gotta follow along. Like, I don't understand why these boxers today fight January and they'll fight again in September. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. So when someone tells me that Beterbiev is an ATG, you cannot be an ATG when you've been a pro since like 2014 or 2013 or whatever the case is. And you're supposed to be an ATG with 21 fights And the very first time that you step up in competition, real competition, the fight goes 12 rounds. I'm sorry, but that's not an ATG. And I'm going to make a separate video on Artur Beterbiev because he's been on my hit list. And I wasn't going to say anything about Artur Beterbiev until I kept seeing people coming at me in comment sections telling me that I don't know anything about boxing and that I better put respect on Artur Beterbiev's name because he got 21 wins and 20 knockouts. The guy he went pro in 2013. He got 21 fights. That's not an ATG. And I'm going to prove it when I make my video on him. All you Beterbiev fans about to get cooked. Y'all might as well put your faces on a George Foreman grill right now and burn yourself. All you fanboys out there for Artur Beterbiev who I seen a comment where somebody said he would be a heavyweight if he fought back in the days. So I'm supposed to believe that Artur Beterbiev, who just went 12 rounds in the hardest fight of his life against a guy who don't even have that much power, could beat Rocky Marciano? Are you kidding me? Now don't get me started because I almost changed the subject over here. I almost changed it. I'm supposed to be talking about Abdullah Mason and the future of boxing and what boxing needs. And I almost got on Artur Beterbiev. I apologize for that. I apologize. I apologize for talking about Artur Beterbiev, who turned pro in 2013 and got 21 fights and finally fought a guy who's quote unquote the best opponent on his resume. It goes 12 rounds. Stop playing with me, ATG. Oh, I'm about to cook all you Beterbiev fanboys out there. All you quote unquote the European boxing is taking over. I'm gonna cook them. I'm gonna cook them. Because I'm not into this whole American fighters and European boxers and black fighters and Latin. No, Latin fighters. I'm not into that. I'm into the sport of boxing, world boxing. It's world champion, not European champion, not American champion, not British champion, not Croatian champion. No, it's world champion. I don't do the skin. MOBC don't do the skin politics. I don't care what ethnicity you are. I like the boxer based on who the boxer is, not what his ethnicity is. I'm not gonna pick a guy. If I'm Puerto Rican, I'm not gonna pick a guy just because he's Puerto Rican. I'm gonna pick a guy who's gonna win, who I think is gonna win. You feel me? Oh yeah, Martin, the rant is coming. The rant is coming. He's only 20. Hopefully he'll clear up the lightweight and defend, and he can't make weight and then move up to 140. Yeah, Martin, I'm telling you. Listen, Abdullah is learning. And the fight last night, I don't know if you watched it. The fight last night, he's learning. These are the type of fights that you need. You need these type of fights. Like I said, if you go on a lot of past great boxers, and they have all these fights, and they have losses. Willie Pep, Sandy Sandler, Henry Armstrong. You go to their boxing record, and you see obscure losses in there, and it's a guy that we don't know or whatever. They just happen to lose. So what? They still became Hall of Fame fighters. They still became great fighters. Because sometimes you might need to lose to become great. That's just what it is. Sometimes you may need to lose to become great. It took when Muhammad Ali fought Joe Frazier, I know he was on almost 3.5 years of not fighting, comes back and fought I think he fought like Jerry Quarry. I think he fought Oscar Benavidez. I can't remember who he fought, but he didn't take no easy fights. And this is Muhammad Ali. Uh, 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 Still rusty Muhammad Ali, right? He fights Joe Frazier, and when he fought Joe Frazier, this is why it's an anomaly, right? When Muhammad Ali fought Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali fought Joe Frazier 3 different ways. The first fight was totally different from the second fight. The first fight, Muhammad Ali played around. He played around a lot, but he took a lot of punishment. He also gave a lot of punishment. I believe they broke each other's jaw in this fight. But the thing about Muhammad Ali in that fight, he talked a lot in that fight, and he played around too much. That's the way he fought that fight. In the second time they fought, he made a kind of adjustments. He clinched a lot. He hit and he held a lot. That's how he beat Frazier the first time. Kind of frustrated Frazier. Also, you had a referee that allowed Muhammad Ali to clinch a lot. It wasn't the most exciting rematch, but nonetheless, he won. And I believe that fight wasn't even 15 rounds. I think it was 12 rounds. I can't remember. Then he fought Frazier the third time. Now you got a referee that's not going to allow Ali to clinch. Now, this falls in Joe Frazier's advantage. And they're past their prime, but they're still for each other. I throw out them being past their prime because for each other, it's something in them where they gotta go at each other at their best, right? And Muhammad Ali was forced to fight and not clinch, and we saw the greatness in Muhammad Ali. Why? Because of activity. Ali was constantly fighting in the 70s, and this is past his prime. That's what boxers got to do today. I don't understand why boxers aren't. If more boxers was active, right? More attention would be from fans and casual fans. More attention would be drawn to the sport because we would have more boxing fights and we would see stars fighting more. That's if you want to compete with mixed martial arts, the sport MMA, if you want to compete with that, boxers got to stay active. You guys got to fight. Let me check the comment. Yeah, I watched the frequency of his fights, and it will benefit him greatly. He doesn't seem to be worried about protecting the O, staying sharp. Yeah, then that's a fact. When you're active, it is a risk factor. Again, I said it in the beginning. The more fights you have, the higher the probability is of you losing. The less fights, the lower the probability. That's why guys don't fight that much. Okay? Right? Or competition. That's another thing. Or we could reverse it. Okay, you're not fighting as much, but you're fighting a certain level of opposition. That could be a risk factor of you losing. Why do you think Anthony Joshua has losses on his record? Do you know why he has losses? Because of the level of opposition. He's not cherry picking. He's fighting good fighters. When you fight good fighters, you might lose. Period, point blank. Dubois, same thing. Dubois fought 3 good fighters in a row. I mean, you could throw Miller in there. I mean, Miller is okay, but I'm gonna, for the benefit of the doubt, Miller, then Herkovich, then Anthony Joshua. What fighter today has a resume that consistent? That's a champion, or a top 10 opponent. What fighter today has that? Not too many. Not too many. Dubois fought 3 good fighters in a row. What is there? What do you need? What is it that you boxing fans want? You guys are so happy and infatuated with, well, Tank Davis is making money. Tank Davis is pulling in. You know, a guy told me the other day in the comment section, a guy told me that I shouldn't put the black man down because Tank Davis is making money. I don't care about Tank Davis being black or African American. He could have been white, purple, green. He could have been the same colors in a rainbow flag. And I still will criticize him. I don't care about his money. I don't care about how much money he makes. I don't care about how much money any boxer makes. The only thing I care about is the sport of boxing staying alive, the sport of boxing still being the #1 combat sport, and seeing the best fighters fight each other. That's the only thing I care about. Save that Dr. Umar and pro-black conversation for another topic with me. If you want to talk about police brutality and African Americans having a hard time finding jobs, whatever, then we can have a conversation about that. But in the sport of boxing, I don't want to hear it. Because Floyd Mayweather's made millions and he's African American. Mike Tyson made millions and he's African American. Holyfield made millions and he's African American. Shane Mosley has made millions and he's African American. So I don't want to hear that talk about, the black man has it hard in the sport of boxing. The black man has to do this and that in the sport of boxing. I don't want to hear it. What I need to see the black man do is step up in competition. And I need to see the European step up in competition. And the Latin step up in competition. And the blue, green, purple step in competition. Save that skin politics for somebody else because I don't want to hear it. The minute that you start talking about racism and the black man this, black man that, last time I checked, there ain't no white-only restroom and white-only water fountain. Last time I checked, when you go into that crowd, there's a whole bunch of African Americans in that crowd. You go to a Sugar Ray Robinson fight, and you might not see a black fighter, a black person in the crowd. You go to some of Sam Langford fights and some of these other black murderers row, and they might not even have their trainer in the corner. So I don't want to hear it. Save the skin politics for somebody else. You ain't going to get that over here. And that's period, point blank. Salute, Bruce. Salute. Because all of this nonsense, the guy told me, Tank Davis got to fight. He fought Frank Martin, was coming off of a prospect level. And now you're fighting Lamont Roach. Let me tell you something about Lamont Roach, since you guys are so happy that he's fighting a guy who's a world champion. Lamont Roach won his belt against a guy who was coming off of a loss. Lamont Roach is not even the best guy at 130. Heck, Tank Davis, you could have fought Nick Ball. Why you didn't pick Nick Ball? Oh, it's a DMV thing. Oh, he's looking out for his brother. Yeah, whatever. If you guys want to go with the skin politics, so be it. You're not going to get that here from over here. Like I said, I don't care what your ethnicity is. I'm here for the sport of boxing and boxing only. I could care less what your ethnicity is, what your religion is. I could care less. I don't care who you dating. I don't care, none of that. I don't care about your gold chain, your car, the music video you in, your Instagram followers. I don't care about none of that. The MOBC is not a male cheerleader. Period, point blank. Tank could care less about his legacy. Exactly, Bruce. Tank don't care about his legacy. But who does? From the looks of it, Abdullah Mason cares about his legacy. Because the guy is staying active. I'm going to tell you guys right now, when that guy get polishes and when he starts getting better, And if he does get better, be on the lookout because this kid is going to be willing to fight everybody. And just like Boots, and just like um yeah, just like Boots, just like the heavyweight Bacoli, it's going to be a lot of people avoiding Abdullah Mason once they see that he polishes himself. Now, I see people right now saying he got dropped twice, and imagine if that was Tank Davis. We're not going to imagine if that's Tank Davis. You know why we're not going to imagine if that was Tank Davis? Because Tank Davis wouldn't fight Abdullah Mason. Even if Abdullah Mason wasn't a prospect, he wouldn't fight Abdullah Mason. If Abdullah Mason was at the top of his game, Tank Davis wouldn't fight Abdullah Mason. So we're not going to sit here and say, what if that was Tank Davis? It's not going to be Tank Davis. Because he's never going to fight Abdullah Mason. And he got him about like 8 or 9 years. So ladies and gentlemen, that fight's never going to happen. Tank Davis is probably never going to fight Keyshawn Davis. He's probably never going to fight Shakur Stevenson. So let's not say Abdullah Mason got dropped by a nobody. Can you imagine if that was Tank Davis? Can you guys put your pom-poms down for a second? Yeah, I know that some of you boxing fans, and I said this before, I know some of you boxing fans, and I know. It's just like like an 80s movie, right? When the girl is in the shower, and she got her brush, and she's in the shower and she's singing the Madonna song, like a virgin, touched for the very first time. That's what you Tank Davis fans do. You guys go in the shower and you guys are in the shower. You got your brush, and then you got your Instagram, and you're looking at the Tank Davis Instagram story, right? Or you're on his Twitter. And you got your brush in your hand, and you're in the shower, and that's what you're singing. Like a virgin, touched for the very first time by Tank Davis. You soft suckers. That's what you are. Y'all a bunch of soft suckers out there. Period, point blank. So don't sit here and say, oh, if that was Tank Davis, Abdullah Mason wouldn't get up. It wouldn't be Tank Davis. Because he wouldn't fight no Abdullah Mason. He wouldn't fight Keyshawn Davis. He wouldn't even fight the Lemos guy who weighed in at 101, 141 pounds. Am I lying, Jedi? Am I lying? DB3 was looking good last night. Yep. Straight up. Straight up. Am I lying, Jedi? You got the Tank Davis fans right now. How like the chicks in the 80s, right? They got the towel wrapped around them. Now they out the shower. They got the towel wrapped around them. They got the head wrapped, the towel, so they can dry their hair. And they put on they plugging up their blow dryer, right? They plugging up their blow dryer. That's what these Tank Davis fans do, right? They plug up their blow dryer, right? They put their blow dryer on, and now they got their iPad, right? They got their iPad up, and then they're watching Tank Davis interview, right? They're not watching Tank Davis interview. They're looking at that video where Tank Davis was dancing in his drawers with his fat belly sticking out. And then the Tank Davis fans is watching him, and they in awe, and they're saying, oh, look at Tank Davis. He's the greatest. He's the greatest. He's going to fight Lamont Roach next. Tank Davis, you are my idol. You are my towel just fell off. Let me dry my hair off with this hair dryer because I'm so in awe of you, Tank Davis. I'm going to DM you, Tank Davis. Hopefully you DM me back. That's what I see with these Tank Davis fans. What I see in Abdullah Mason is staying sharp, staying active, staying motivated. Got the pom-pom bunch. Yeah, exactly, Jedi. They got the pom-pom bunch. See, what I learned with boxing fans today is They're more excited with the idea of a fight. They don't want to actually see it. So if Shakur Stevenson was to lose to De Los Santos the night he fought him, that would have been a victory for Tank Davis. They would have said if that was Tank Davis, he would have did the same thing. If Lemos would have beat Keyshawn Davis, Tank Davis would have got that victory. They would have gave Tank Davis credit for a fight he didn't have. Because right now they're giving him credit for dropping Abdullah Mason, who's not even fighting 10-round fights. That's how nervous, that's how scared Tank Davis fans are. That they are giving him credit. They're giving him credit for a fighter who has 8-round fights. You can't make this up. You notice the Argentine boxers are overrated today. You think the Argentine boxers are overrated today? Or are you asking me, are they overrated today? Or are boxers or boxing fans saying that Argentine boxers are overrated? Because I think I get what you're saying, Bruce. If you're thinking what I'm thinking with these boxing fans saying that Argentine boxers is overrated, they're wrong. Because boxers from Argentina have never been overrated. Ever. Monzon, not overrated. Monzon, not overrated. What's his name? What's the kid name from Argentina? With the boxer, the one who knocked out Williams, Martinez is not overrated. We got some great fighters coming out of Argentina. The slick guy, the one with the moves, the guy, what's his name? He had the slick moves, Mr. Untouchable. I forgot his name. Yeah, you're talking about today. What the reason why they're saying Argentina's fighters is overrated because they don't watch boxing. And they don't know the history with Argentinian boxing. Great boxers come from Argentina. We got an ATG, one of the greatest middleweights of all time, come from Argentina. Yeah, Nico Loche. We got some of the greatest fighters of all time come out of Argentina. And we got good fighters today coming out of Argentina. So I don't want to hear that crap. These boxers, it's even with the Europeans. Nicolino Loche. Even with the Europeans, Bruce and Martin. Even with the Europeans. Because they don't watch these European boxers, then they're a bum to them. You know, they're a bum. There's a lot of guys out there that underestimated Madrimov, right? They thought he was a bum. He wasn't a bum. He's not a bum. I remember when Bivol was fighting Canelo, and you could go on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and you see these comments. The amount of people who never seen Bivol fight is so crazy to me. And everyone thought it was going to be an automatic knockout. And Canelo got schooled. Guys, just because, look, boxing fans, just because you don't know who the fighter is, doesn't mean they're overrated. I had a guy the other day tell me, who did Inoue fight? Who did Inoue fight? He's fighting nobody. You know what I told him? I said, well, he became undisputed. He's a multi-weight class world champion. Legit world champion at that. I think he's fighting some good competition. A lot better than Frank Martin. A lot better than, what's that guy name? I can't even think of some of Tank Davis' opponents. Other guys from 130 that he moved up to 135. And knew he's fighting a lot better opposition. Trust me on that. Trust me on that. The Argentine boxers today are riding on the coattails of fighters like Monzon and Loche. That's what I'm saying. I see what you mean, Bruce. And I can see that. I can see that. Because they're not as good as the fighters of the past. I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. And I didn't know that. I'll look into that. I didn't know that some of these Argentine fighters are riding the coattails some of the past grades. And, you know, it's a lot of big shoes to fill over there. And they probably can't fill them. They probably won't be able to fill those shoes. You know, I believe, wasn't Carlos Baldemir a Argentine fighter? I thought he was. I thought Carlos Baldemir was an Argentine fighter. Yeah, Carlos Baldemir was an Argentine fighter. And Floyd Mayweather fought him and ran for dear life. He came in there dressed as a gladiator, but he fought like Cinderella. And he ran, he left his shoe in the dressing room. And, he left his shoe in the ring and he ran out of there. And that's how he fought. He walked out like Russell Crowe from Gladiator, but he fought like a Disney princess. So yeah, listen, I have to look into that, but I believe it. I believe it because, again, I'm one of those boxing fans where when you riding on the coattail of these past fighters and the ones in your hometown or the ones you look up to, you got to do as they do. You can't just ride their coattail. You got to do as they do. You got to be as good as they are. You got to train like they do. You got to fight and be active like they are. You know, I get it. You know, Monson would get a lot of criticism for not fighting a lot of the Philly fighters in that time, in that circuit, a lot of Philly circuit. But it doesn't take away from him being one of the best middleweights ever. It just doesn't. It doesn't. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. Throughout history, we would have liked to see him fight, you know, Willie the Worm and all of these guys, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And a lot of those guys, they didn't become greats or whatever. I know that Hagler beat these guys, but it's not like these guys became like world breakers or like a lot of them became like world champions. No, they didn't. So there's a balance there where, okay, well, Monzon didn't fight these guys, but at the same time, these guys didn't really do nothing either in the sport, if that makes sense. You know, promoters think that just being from Argentina legitimizes you, and it doesn't anymore. Yeah, I see that. I see what you mean. Like these promoters are the ones that are pushing that narrative. Like this is Argentina. This is another Argentina fighter, you know, and they're not showing and proving. I see what you mean. I definitely see what you mean, Bruce. I definitely see that. But I just want to see these fighters become active, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But if the sport's going to stay alive, we need more fighters to be like Abdullah Mason. It is what it is. We need more fighters to stay active, to stay training, and to stay disciplined. And what I saw last night, I believe we saw possibly the future in the lightweight division. I know he got dropped twice, but he came back. And guys, he won in the following round with a body shot. With a body shot. That guy looked in his corner and shook his head. He didn't want to get up. He didn't want to get up. He didn't want no more. Abdullah Mason is somebody to watch, ladies and gentlemen. And Abdullah Mason is somebody that you boxers, professionals, you champions out there should follow along. A guy who's fighting 8-round fights, possibly his last 8-round fight. He's doing what you professional champions and you so-called belt holders and you so-called top 10 opponents, top 15 opponents aren't doing. He's staying active. He's staying sharp. He's staying disciplined. And he's pleasing the boxing fans. This is the MOBC, my own boxing community. Salute.